hello Year 11. So let's go through the next 2 pages of the revision. So types of graphs. So let's quickly go through these graphs. So you should know the general shapes of your graphs. Straight line graphs, our linear graphs, if I draw at the top here, either slope upwards or slope downwards, and they are of the form y equals mx plus c, so no power on the x. You then have your quadratic graphs, which are your u-shapes, either the correct way or upside down, and they are y equals x with a squared, and then it may have a number or an x next to that. You then have your cubic graphs, which look like this, or upside down like this, and they have a power of 3. So they're your main types of graphs. There's a few other ones as well. You've got the reciprocal graphs, which go in 2 out of the 4 quadrants and never cut the x or y axes. Those ones are where it's a number over x. And then you've got your exponential graphs, which are where they are to the power of x. Let's squeeze it over here. And they look at something a little bit like that. And that is where you have a number to the power of x. So there's your general type and the shape of graphs. From there, you then have to sort of see where it cuts the y axes and try and get the correct shape graph. So let's talk through these ones here. So 4 minus x squared is an x squared, so we know it's either going to be the u shape that looks like this or upside down. Because there's a minus in front of the x squared, it means it's the upside down one. So you're looking for the upside down quadratic graph, and looking at these options here, that's going to be f. That plus 4 there means it cuts there at 4. So on the y-axis, that would be a 4. So that's going to be graph f. Next one is also a quadratic. It's a positive, so it's your normal U shape. It cuts at -2 on your y-axis. So that means that value there is going to be -2 on your x-axis, on your y-axis. This here is your the reciprocal graph, which is your C, where it goes through those 2 quadrants and it doesn't cut the axes. That's C. This is your typical cubic graph, which will be A. The exponential, because it's a power of x, so that's going to be B. And then this is just a linear graph, so a straight line going upwards, so that's going to be D. Areas now. Area of parallelogram is base times height, so we're just going to do 18 and times that by 12, and we get 216 centimetres squared. Okay, the shape at the bottom here, I can see 2 distinct trapeziums. So we're going to work with the area of 1/2 and get the area of that trapezium, and then we can double it to get the whole shape. Area of a trapezium is the 2 parallel sides added, divided by 2, times by the height. So for this shape here, the 2 parallel sides are the 9 and the 14. So we're going to do 9 add 14, half that, and then times it by the distance between those 2 parallel sides, so half of 13, so 6.5. So I'm just going to run that through my calculator. 9 plus 14, divide that by 2, and times that by 6.5, and I get 74.75. Now that's only half of it, so I'm now going to take my answer and times that by 2. And that's going to get me 149.5 millimetres squared. Right, so work on upper and lower bounds now. So to get the lower bound of the perimeter of a shape, this is a rectangle, you need to add all of the lower bounds together. So we need to find the lower bounds. Let's look at the measurements here. A rectangle has a width of 16, a length of 23, both to the nearest centimetre. So we're going to add and subtract half a centimetre. To get the lower bound, we just need to take it off. So we're going to do 15.5 for the lower bound of 16, and then 22.5 for the lower bound of that. You're then going to want to add those all together. There's lots of ways you can do this. You can double 22.5, double 15.5 and add them together, or you can just go and add them all in one long line, or you can add these two and double it, whatever you think you're going to remember and find easiest in the exam. 22.5, I'm going to add that to 15.5 and I'm going to double that. So 76 centimetres is the lower bound of the perimeter. Right, for this next question, upper bound of the speed. So a car travels 117 metres in 15 seconds. Now to get the upper bound of the speed, you want the biggest divided by the smallest. I always think of a pizza party. If you're going and having a pizza party, what's going to give you the biggest slice of pizza? Well, that's going to be ordering as much pizza as you possibly can, but dividing that by the fewest amount of people, and that's going to get you the biggest. So you want the biggest amount of pizza divided by the smallest number of people you possibly can. So that means we're going to want the upper bound of 117. Now that's rounded to nearest 10, so you half that 10 and then you're going to take off 5. So no, add 5 to get the upper bound. So that means the upper bound is going to be 122, and then we're going to want to work out the lower bound now. Now this is to the nearest second, so you're going to want to take off half a second, so 14.5. So we're then going to divide those two, and that's going to get us 8.41379. I'm just going to write quite a few of those decimal places in, and that's going to be metres per second. When taken away, a bit like the pizza party, to get the biggest amount, you want to have the biggest starting value, and then to end up with the most, you want to give away the smallest amount possible. So that's going to get you the upper bound. You want the biggest amount and then remove the smallest. So correct to one decimal place, so the biggest is going to be 2.35, and then you want the smallest, so 1.25. So 2.35 minus 1.25, so that's going to get us 1.1. Okay, let's look at our next questions. Okay, some ratio work now. So sharing into a ratio. This is quite a straightforward standard sharing into a ratio. You have the total amount you're dividing into the ratio, nice and easy. Add the two numbers together. You're then going to split the amount equally into those 12 parts. That's going to get you 40. Write out the ratio again here, times both parts by 40. So that's going to get us 200 to 280. Now you can check this in the exam, because do those two amounts add together to give what we had? Yes, they do. You know you've got it right in the exam. Next one just asks us for one particular person, which is Ben. So we need to identify that Ben is the middle person in that sentence, so he's a middle value in that ratio. They are sharing a total amount into that ratio, so first thing we need to do is to add up all their ratios, which gets us 10. So we need to split, first of all, the amount into 10, which is 150. Now because we're only interested in Ben, we can just take Ben, which is 3 parts, and then times that by 1 part, So we know that Ben gets £450. Now this is where it's a little bit different. Sarah and Tom share money in the ratio 3 to 7. Sarah receives £12. So this way you're going to pop 12 underneath Sarah's part. You now need to work out what you're timesing this by. So 3 times 4 gets you 12. So 7 times 4 gets you 28. So that is Tom there. Tom is £28. Now so on the dotted line in the exam you'd put £28. Okay, for these ones it's all calculator based. So what you're going to do to scale up some recipes is you're going to divide by how many people the recipe's for, and then you're going to times by how many people you need it for. So for flour we're going to put divided by 8 times by 10, and same for flour, divide it by 8 times it by 10. And there's a calculator paper, so you're just going to use your calculator, divide it by 8 times it by 10. So 2,500 grams of flour. Do the same with sugar, 600, divide it by 8 times it by 10, 750 grams of sugar. Right, blue and yellow paint. So blue and yellow paint in the mixture of 5 to 3. That makes your green paint. We're going to use 25 litres of blue, so you pop 25 underneath the blue column and then you scale it up. 5s and 25 go 5 times, so 3 times 5 is 15, so you have 15 litres of yellow paint. So that'll be the answer in your exam. Questions like this are really good because they're testing also your knowledge of angles, because it doesn't give you the number. Angles in a triangle are in the ratio, so straight away as soon as you see an angle fact, write out what the number is for the angle fact. So 180 degrees in triangle shared into this ratio here. Now the largest angle is what we need, and that's going to be given by the largest ratio part. So we need to now share 180 into, and then you're going to add all these together, which gets you 12, and then we're going to work out what we've got to scale it up by. That gives us 15. Because it's only the largest angle we want, we can now just do 5 times 15. So that means the largest angle must be 75. Right, this is not for the foundation people, so foundation people you can stop there. Higher people, you need a formula which is given to you in the exam for working out the area of a triangle when you've got an angle, and that is, it's a half AB sine C. And we can just plug in the values. Now, it may not have been obvious on your sheet what these values were. That one was an 8, and I'm putting that one down as a 7. So all we need to do now is 12 times by 8 times by sine of the angle, and divide that by 2. It's a calculator paper, so let's just throw that all in. So 12 times by 8 times by sine 30, and then you can use it as a fraction or just push equals and then divide it by 2. So that's going to get me 24 centimetres squared. For the bottom one, you're given the area, so you're going to plug in what you've got and equal it to 29.5. So we've got 11 times 7 times sine. Now we don't have x, that's actually what we're trying to find. And when you divide that by 2, that gives us an area of 29.5. So we need to solve this now to find x. First thing you're going to do is to get rid of that divide 2, and you're going to times this here by 2. So just plug that into your calculator, times it by 2, and you get 59. Also, you can do 11 times 7, which is 77. So we know 77 times sine x equals 59. We're then going to divide both sides by 77. So you're going to do 59 divided by 77. So that means sine x equals 0.76623. And then to get that into an angle, you're going to shift sign the answer. So shift or second function sine equals, and that gives me an angle of 50.0168, and I'm going to write 50.0 degrees to 1 decimal place. So have a go at version B and version C. Now on version B and C, when you get to this question, you can't see what the bottom lengths are. So for version B, this length is 6, so just add that to your sheet now. And for version C, that length there is 12. For this question, version B, that length is 6, and for version C, that length at the bottom is 8. Have a go and press pause, have a go, press play when you're ready. Here are my answers: E, B, A, F, C, D. One side was 84, doubled is 168. One side 61.75, doubled 123.5 millimeters squared. If you think I made a mistake anywhere, guys, do let me know. To get the upper bound for the area, you need to multiply the two upper bounds together. So 13.5 times 20.5, 276.75 centimeters squared. Upper bound for speed, you want the biggest speed, so because it's rounded near as 10, you have to add on 5, so 138 divided by, and then you want the lower bound to 19.5, so 7.0769, just write a few decimal places in for that answer. Upper bound is your biggest, take away smallest. I think this is the same as what we had before, so 2.35 minus 1.25, so 1.1. And page 2 of version B, 60 to 100, 360 for Ben, 56 for Tom, 2250, 1125, 6 litres of yellow paint, 72 degrees, 13.5 and 50 degrees for that bottom one. Version C, FEDCBA, 84 centimeters squared, 2 L shapes. You had to get this length here, which is 7, by doing 11 take away 4, which is 7. 5 times 7 is 35, and then 8 times 4 is 32. Add them together, so 67. Lower bound for the perimeter, you want the lower bound of all of them and add them up to get 68. Upper bound, you want to do the biggest, so 155 divided by 14.5, so 10.689655. I wrote a few decimal places there, meters per second. And for this one, you wanted the biggest, so that's going to be 4.05 minus the smallest, 1.25, so 2.8. And then the last page, showing into the ratios, 60 to 90. Don't forget we can do our check. So 60 and 90 is 150. I got that guaranteed in the exam. Ben's part was 440. Sarah received 30, so Tom received 70. This one was actually really easy because you just had to double it in the end. 1,200, the number hasn't changed, a bit stupid really, but never mind. 1,200. For this one here, 15 litres of yellow paint and 72 degrees. I think that question was the same as before, a bit annoying, but there we go. And 15 times 12 times sine 60 divided by 2, 77.9. And then equaling it to the area, so you had to double 37.6, divide that by 80, and then shift sign the answer. I got 70 degrees for that one. Okay, well done guys, hope your revision's going well. Good luck with those questions. Well, good luck with your revision, hopefully you've done all those questions, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.